thanks for joining us for the Changing the Industry podcast, where we try to effectuate change for the better, one conversation at a time. Part of that change is providing help for those that need it. This is why we've partnered with the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. Whether it's help with sales, operations, or just getting your numbers in order, these folks are some of the very best in the industry. And for our listeners, they'll sit down with you and go over your strengths, your weaknesses, and the opportunities that are in front of you. They'll create a customized plan for how to move forward, absolutely free. That's right, free. And if your plan includes one-on-one coaching, they can also help you with that. There's no hard sales pitch, no obligation, just honest help from honest people. So if that's something that you think could benefit you, make sure you click on the link in the show notes. And now, on to the show. What's up?
What's going on, man?
Not much. Hey, tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself.
I'm Ryan. I own a garage in Stuart, Florida. I specialize primarily in BMW and Mercedes.
Very cool.
I'm sitting here talking to you now. I caught you on Facebook. The name Changing the Industry kind of caught me.
Right.
Because I'm in the industry and I hate a lot of things about it.
Right. Well, so how'd you get into it, right? Like, how'd you get into the industry?
I always loved motorsports, and I went to school for Ducati motorcycles.
Okay.
And there wasn't really a big market where I was. There was one Ducati shop, but you mostly did Japanese sport bikes. I ended up having my own automotive detail business, and I did more highline cars, and I met an individual that did BMW, Mercedes specialty work. And as we kind of became friends and I was cleaning his cars, he said, you know, you have a knack for this. Have you ever thought about working on cars? And at the time I was like, no. 2007, the economy took a turn and I literally transitioned perfectly out of my detail business.
Right.
And into mechanicking.
That's awesome.
So, and I never was into BMW Mercedes, right? I was a younger kid, being an American. It was all Chevy stuff. I liked the sport bike aspect. But, and then working on the cars, I fell in love with the cars, and that's how I got sucked in.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you're like active on social media in a really unique way, right? Like, I'm seeing all your posts and all the stuff you put out there for the shop and the other pictures, man.
A little bit. Yeah. I don't do much, but yeah.
Well, I mean, just saying, like, the pictures that you put out there are very unique and they draw people in. How big is the shop? What kind of size is the shop?
Very small. It's about 2,700 square foot, 3 bays inside, 1 bay outside.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
cool. It, about changing the industry, right?
Yeah, of course.
When you have the opportunity to have a shop like this, you can make it not like the industry.
Right.
So I don't count. I look at hours. I'm a businessman and owner, but I'm a mechanic first and foremost, right?
Right.
And my business has always been providing the service. Yeah. Not trying to give a discount rate or some gimmick to get somebody in the door. Right. So that's what I expect out of my guys. So there's no such thing as flat rate. You're going to have to do work hours, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But the quality has to be there. We don't have time to do it twice. Keep the same customers, cool ones, and learn new personalities and new people every day.
Right.
You keep your core base, and it turns out you're a lot happier in life.
Yeah.
Then you can pay your guys' salary, paid holidays, paid vacations, work Monday through Friday, and actually have a normal job. Right. Not have to take up your weekends, not have to not go on vacations with your family. I don't believe mechanics should have to pay for anything. Right. Besides their shoes and their pants.
Yeah, there you go. It's true. Hard to buy those for them, right? Like,
but besides that, all tools are provided at my shop. Right. Anything and everything. If they want something special, most of the guys in a small shop are pretty good and worth it. You buy them whatever they need to get the job done. Right. Because if I expect you to perform at a certain level, how can I do that without giving you the tools to succeed?
Right. Well, and like your operation, I've looked on your Facebook profile and stuff like that over the past couple of months, and it's very unique, right? Like, it's not like every other shop. The social media doesn't look like every other shop. And I think that's what caught my eye about it, right? Is it seems unique compared to everybody else.
It's very personal.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of emotion in there, lots of love. Yeah. We're very big into motorsports, motorcycles, four-wheelers, dirt bikes. It's not just BMW and Mercedes. You know, we live the lifestyle.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what's interesting for me is because a lot of guys come into this and they start a business, right? Especially if you were a tech first and then you start a shop. You come into this and then what you end up doing is you end up losing the passion for the car, right? You lose the passion for what it was that you did. How did you maintain that passion? What was your...
By not following the industry norms,
right?
You know, I was losing my passion. And when I left the last shop I was working at before I started my own business, you know, I had at that point worked and saw what they were providing and said that people are like me. Yeah. I'm not the only one like myself.
Yeah.
People don't mind paying for quality. Yeah. And usually when you deal with those people, they're so much cooler, man. Right. They've got awesome cars and stories, and they're from places and do things. And I mean, so, right, one of the major joys in life is meeting all the people, coming here and networking. I mean, that's what we do as people. Sometimes you want to get away, but not generally. We're always mingling as people. So you get a way higher class clientele, and that doesn't mean financially. That means the intellectual property of the person is just greater. It's pretty cool. So that helps keep your passion in, and then being able to come in to a clean workspace, an organized workspace, and have that. It's not a grease pit. It's very well lit. You know, these items are overlooked even in a lot of older shops, and there's no reason for that because it draws down on your whole energy when you come in. So those little things have kept the passion going for me because I'm excited for the next thing. I get excited to put shelving in. Yeah. I get excited to buy new tools, new software. You know, my guy needs something special, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to get that for you. Right. Right. So
isn't it Becky Witt who always said the thing, soap, lights, and paint or something like that?
Yeah.
Like
when I bought my shop, and the people loved the guy that owned it before me. It was one person, Michael McAdams, from 1988 to 2012 when I bought it.
Wow.
And obviously I've had it ever since. But the shop used to have a drop ceiling.
Okay.
And when the hurricanes came through 05, 06, it finally took the ceiling off the shop. So these guys were working with floor jacks. There was one lift, which I still have working. I maintain my stuff outside. But they were working inside on floor jacks from 1988 until 2006.
Holy cow.
And then when I bought it, you could still see the metal where the drop ceiling used to be.
Right.
Same paint that's been there since the 60s and 70s. I mean, it was just, you know, because people say that that's not what makes a shop. You focus on this, that. And I'm like, I don't want to live like this.
You know, and for so long, I think a lot of shop owners, they would go in there, and that was the quintessential shop, right? That's what everybody looked at as a repair shop. But that's not what we are today.
Well, and especially being independent.
Yeah.
You go into the dealer, you get all the glam, and they think that if you're in this dirty independent shop, there is still that mindset that this dirty independent shop, I'm going to save money and it's going to be better for my car. And I'm just not with that.
I remember being a little kid, and there was this shop in town called Dick's Garage, right? And it was off on the other side of town, and it was, I think it was 3 bays, maybe 4, and we would roll up, and you'd go in, and dude, as soon as you walk through the door, like you couldn't even get the front office door all the way open. You'd have to like shove the door open to get through the door.
Stuff piled
and there's
everywhere.
Stuff piled up,
Everywhere.
and there's stuff all up on the counters, and just, I mean, you can't even see where he works, and he just, you know, he'd write down, he'd have a little notepad, and he'd write down your bill, and it was literally just like a flip notepad with lines on it, and he'd write down your bill, and he'd hand you your bill, and it was a cool experience, right? I still remember the smell of that place. And,
it's different.
And so I think that for the longest time, that was acceptable, and that's what we thought normal was. But then as it developed further and further, the consumers of today are not the consumers they were those many years ago, right? They don't look at that and say, this is a repair shop, right? Especially when you got dealerships who are out here putting out these, you know, $10 million products for them to walk into. And we're not saying you got to have a Taj Mahal, but there better not be dog turds laying on the floor when they walk in, you know?
Well, and time flies by so fast. I mean, it's 2023.
Yeah.
So the cars are drastically more just advanced. I mean, it doesn't matter what you drive, what you're working in, they're extremely advanced. The consumer knows this.
Yeah.
And we're charging rates now. It's not $50 an hour like it was years and years ago.
Right.
Everybody's $150, $200 an hour almost across the United States, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. And when they come in and they're paying somebody that amount of money, they want to see that this person is capable of completing the task.
They don't want to get back in their car and have greasy footprints because the shop's got 2 inches of grease on the floor, and that just doesn't work. So
leave my grease alone. There's a lot of places in like you get into the middle part of the country, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, they're at $80 an hour. That's what they charge. And nobody charges $150 an hour. And you try to tell them, hey, you should be charging $150 an hour. They go, I'd go out of business. They haven't made that connection yet. It's unique, but there's still a lot of that out there.
Yeah, I can see that, but they're probably not using factory diagnostic tools and specializing. And that's kind of probably what I'm generalizing as. So I do realize other shops do have different labor rates, but so for example, we do anything and everything BMW, Mercedes. Yeah. Period.
Sure.
And I give a 3-year warranty.
The shop that you bought also specialized?
Yes, that's actually how I got into it. Okay. He would drive by with his little dog at about 5 o'clock because it's 7:30 to 4:30, and I would of course be in my building, and I'd be sweating and miserable and answering the phone, and I'd have Range Rovers and Audis and BMWs and Mercedes all over the place, and he'd laugh at me and he goes, "When are you going to realize there's a better way?"
Yeah,
because I always thought that you'd be leaving money on the table, right?
You're the owner of the shop with floor jacks in the building.
Yeah.
Was driving by making fun of you.
At 5 o'clock already, showered and changed, living his best life. Yeah.
Wow.
Telling me I'm doing it all wrong.
But he didn't have a lift inside the building.
Not until 2006 when the roof blew off.
Oh, okay. Yep. Oh, after
so
that,
after
then he put it in.
Then we have, that's why I say we got the pitched roof. And when I bought it, you could still see where the drop ceiling was.
Okay,
and
that makes
no
sense.
paint, no nothing. There was...
you saw it as an opportunity.
There was legitimate... it's a business, right? So there's numbers and stuff. Yeah. And it's been known.
Yeah.
I would honestly say 800 or more pounds of wiring harness in one corner of the shop. I mean,
I've probably got a couple hundred.
I mean,
you don't know when you need it. Okay,
6-7 foot high and probably 13 foot long.
Pigtails,
maybe more.
Sometimes
I don't know. Ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, so you're starting to make me feel bad. Let me ask you this. So you're paying your guy's salary.
Well, I threw it all out. Now I'm regretting it. Now I have to build back my stock, right? Yeah.
You're paying your guy's salary. You have what, 3 techs?
Yep.
Okay. So you're paying your guy's salary.
They're paid to be here. I think this is very important about changing the industry.
Sure.
And we came early, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean, this is very important about creating, because we're in this life, right? So we have the opportunity to create a better environment for us. So they get paid to come here. But
the numbers still have to work at the end of the day. Okay. And so, I mean, we just had a conversation with a gentleman who he can't pay straight flat rate because of the state that he's in. So he pays fancy flat rate, which is a salary with hourly with a bonus on top. But if they're going to make the numbers that everybody wants to be like, oh, my guy makes X amount of dollars, that guy's got to flag him 50 plus, right? And then he can go around and start telling everybody, oh, my guy's flagging me 50. What do you guys flag? Your guys? What are they flagging?
My guys will do on average, my best guy will do 60. Mm-hmm. And then the regular guys are around 35 to 40.
Okay.
And keep in mind, it's not fair. And the flat rate in a small shop's not fair because I'm super anal retentive. Everything's got to be clean. There's no cleaning crew coming back. You have to take care of all the stuff.
Sure.
All the setup on the cars. You were mentioning grease and fingerprints. Yeah. We take them out. I've got a little wash bay. We power wash and clean all the motors. We clean all the underpans. All that stuff is not involved in flat rate, right? So there's a ton of extra. hours. I think of my guys could easily, if they were on a regular flat rate shop, other shops I've been in, I know they could easily clock 10 to 15 more hours a week going to any other shop.
So how much support staff do you carry?
My techs, and then I have an assistant. I do most of the diagnostic, and obviously.
So you're doing the diagnostic work. Who's selling the work?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah, small shop. They want to talk to me anyway. All the time.
Okay. So in your particular instance, and I'm not trying to give you the third degree or question. You know,
no, this is what I'm here for.
What happened?
I unplugged it.
Why?
Because I wanted to.
Is it not recording now?
Yeah, it's recording. That's just from my computer.
Oh. Okay. Oh, you freaked me out. That distracted me. I like to deconstruct things because I steal that everything I do and any good idea I've ever had, it's stolen. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to deconstruct and go, okay, what can I pull away from that particular situation? And Lucas and I were having lunch, and we determined that I'm unbelievably lazy and do not want to work in my business at all. Right? So you have a lot of energy. So we can just throw that one out the door right there.
Still lazy, though. Don't worry.
Trust me, you're not.
Not compared to this.
On top of that, too, you're obviously a high I. I can tell. A high I personality, the disc profile, DISC.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay. So it breaks down personality types. And everybody's a little bit of everything, right? But you always have a dominant trait, right? And an I stands for influencer, but it's essentially somebody who's very outgoing, gregarious. You kept saying it over and over again. I like to talk to the people. I like to network. We go out, we mingle. Okay, I am not a high I. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to meet anybody. I avoid conversations. And so like the front counter, I'm not going to work the front counter. That is insane to me. Now, have I done it? Yeah. Do I do it? Absolutely. It is mentally and physically exhausting. Smile that come in like, hey, how you doing? And then wanting to, I don't want to pretend. I do want to be interested in what they're saying. But at the end of the day, like, dude, I don't care. Like, just drop the car off and go away. I'll fix your car and then come back and pay me. And that's how I feel about it. But I have to force myself not to do that, okay?
Yeah.
And to not have it show. Because sometimes it shows. So I got to be really careful about how I talk to the customer and this stuff. And so all of what you do, I cannot duplicate. That is insane to me. Now, good for you. That's fantastic. The only thing I would challenge you on, you guys are very alike, by the way. Very alike. He's also a high I. He is also a high I. And he is energized by meeting people. The more he talks to people, the more energy he gets, and where it is draining to me. And I like that's every little interaction removes energy for me. And at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. Where he could keep going, he just got to talk to more people. So you guys are very much alike. The only thing I would challenge you is what I've done. So I'm salary as well. I've got 3 techs. I just lost a tech. So I'm down to 3 techs. I had 4. I have done everything I can in my business to remove me from the business. I don't want my name on it. I don't want to be involved in it. I don't want to know. I need to pay the bills. I pay the bills. That's what I do in my shop. I pay the bills. That's it. And the reason why is because hey, I got to go do the podcast. I'll see you next week. And then I just go. The shop may do well, may not do well, whatever. The shop just runs. Mm-hmm. I don't have to be involved. I don't have to worry about who's selling the work. I don't have to worry about who's talking to the customers. I don't have to worry about who's doing the work. Is the car clean? All of that is built into what we do on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. But him and I, we're having this conversation. We're looking at our numbers. Numbers are down a little bit. This month so far, we had why I'm down? I'm down 11% right now, sales. I went into the beginning of the month flat, and entered so far, the 17th of the month, I'm down 11%. And it's because I had a ridiculously good May last year. And I am not keeping up with last year's May. Anyway. But I lost the tech. So it's a little bit of that. Car count's down. But whatever. And him and I are having this conversation, and I'm like, how are these guys doing it? And I told him it's because they work in their businesses and we don't.
I mean, I still work in my shop.
He takes random days off. He's like, hey, I'm going to take Tuesday off. And I'm on the phone with him when he says that. And I'm like, what do you mean, like Tuesday off? He's like, yeah, like I'm going to try to hang out at home. Now, his kids are homeschooled. His wife's at home. Like that means that everybody's in the house together. Yeah. That doesn't happen in my house. If I take a Tuesday off, that's me sitting by myself in my house. My kids are at school. My wife's at work.
Oh, I'd be fishing. I'd love to take a Tuesday or Wednesday off. Oh, man. So I'm in a very small coastal town. It was, I lost, and people tried to tell me when I bought the business, I merged my shop and Church Street Garage that I bought, right? Yeah. I might have retained 5% of my customers because they didn't want to go from one town over to the next town. They initially did, but it petered out. Yeah. And, I mean, the same thing with holding because, you buy the blue sky, right? Because that's what the property is, only that. And you buy the blue sky and, it's up to you to create that blue sky every day. And now over a decade later, I don't want to give false numbers, but I would say maybe 5 to 8% at most still come to my shop, or, they've gotten older. So it's difficult. When I first bought it, where I was getting at in the beginning with this is the type of town we're in. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Yeah. People would talk about retaining customers. This is where I was going with it. I had literal people come in when they realized Michael was not there, and I was the new owner of the shop, walk out. Yeah. Yep. That was that. Yeah. They did not like the look of me, however it was, and it was done, over with. They'd walk out. Now, years later, a lot of people came back because I'm super anal retentive and give the best quality work. So at some point, you're going to need me or the dealer. So you pick, but it was very, very difficult. And that's kind of how it is now. I just got an assistant again, and I haven't had one for probably 2 years, but it was really boiling me up. Dealing with all the people, scheduling all the appointments. They talk to me a lot, and I explain. I'm pretty technical, and I explain everything in detail to my customers. Plus, I'm nonstop on the diagnostics. It was just killing me, and I needed help. So now I'm still trying to train. She's been with me a couple of months now, and they don't want to leave a message if I don't answer the phone.
Yeah. Well,
let me talk to Ryan now.
I went through so much of that. Right, I went through so much of that, and
he's going through so much.
Yeah, I still am. Right, and I've been through a couple of people in that position, and part of the problem is I am absolutely a hard ass when it comes to the service advisor position, because I want them to clearly understand what they're paying for. I want them to clearly understand what the warranty is.
That's our job,
right? I want them to understand that I care about their car and I care about them, and I want them to be okay. Right, that's my job. And so I take it too far, right? There's zero doubt I'm hard to work for in that position. The tech position, I can laugh about because I've made those mistakes. I've screwed that up. We can talk about it, and I can fix the car. That's no problem. Fixing a relationship with a client is much harder, and it feels like it's much more detrimental to me, in my personal opinion. When something goes wrong with a client, I feel it personally. It makes me sick to my stomach, right?
It's the same. Exactly everything you said is exactly how.
Oh, it's like I said. You guys are exactly alike.
Holy crap! I could have just said it like that.
Anyway, how do we fix this? Because this is not sustainable.
Well, here's the thing: is like,
but it is. We can just do it till we die, man.
No, that's terrible.
I watched David.
I want you to go fishing.
I know. I want to.
Well, we were in Kansas City.
One Wednesday, please.
We were in Kansas City, right? And we went to David's shop. We're getting ready to go to Vision, and we're riding around, and a client calls David, and the guy's like, "Hey, so it's got a few oil drips underneath it, and I just wanted to make sure that's okay." And they had an oil leak or something they were dealing with, And David's like, listen, it's fine. I told my technician. He washed it. He must not have washed it good, but it's fine. You don't need to worry about it. It's fine.
But yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, he was hard ass with the dude. And I'm over here thinking,
I was curt.
Have you ever looked up the definition of that word?
Do you have any kids?
I have one.
Okay. Do you ever put your dad voice on?
I mean,
like the kid's messing around. It's like, hey, it's now time to go. Like, exactly. Like, get your shoes on. We're leaving now. You get your dad voice. Mm-hmm. That's what I call it. And yeah, I got the dad voice with he was calling me. I was driving around. I want to talk to the guy. And he's asking me like the same question. And he's like, well, I was just worried about the trips. Like, yeah. And we explained it to him. We had told him at the counter, hey, we did some oil cooler lines. The little fitting we didn't replace. My tech's fault because I bought them. They were on the ticket. Replace the stupid fitting because guess what happens? You unclip it, you clip it back in, you turn it on, 80 PSI hits, pop. Yeah. The thing pops out. And that's what it did. It sprayed oil everywhere. Shuts the vehicle off. He replaces the fitting, cleans it off, but you just sprayed 80 PSI engine oil all over this truck. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to be drips. So we told the guy, hey, it's going to be drips on the ground. This is what happened. He's like, oh, okay. And then what does he do? Flipping calls me. He's like, dude, I just told you.
I understand that. But I think about my wife, I think about my mom, I think about other people, and I think, you know what? They don't understand, even though I just told them that, they don't really understand the gravity of the situation. They don't truly understand it like I understand it. It doesn't mean anything for me if it's not dripping oil in the ground around my place, I know it's out of oil, right? Like, I know that's a problem. But, you know, like, my thing is that I want to make sure they feel confident. I want to make sure they feel okay about it, right? Because I don't want them to question what we're doing. I want to build a relationship with them where they understand. Lucas has my back. It's okay. If it was a problem, he'd tell me it's a problem, right?
Right.
And so, you know, and I tell
clients, comes back and you're like, oh man, it's a problem,
right?
That's a nightmare. I don't want that at all. Trust me. That's not, I get what you're saying. And I wasn't trying to be rude to the guy. I'd put my dad voice on because the guy was just not hearing what I was telling him.
I heard the hurt feelings over the phone.
Well, I mean, some customers now are quite tough, and they just need to be told.
I know, but
they just need to be told.
And this guy just already have a relationship and know.
I heard in his voice the hurt feelings.
No. He just got dad voiced, and he's like, oh, I just got dad voiced.
No, I'm just telling you, if you go back and listen to that call, if you go back and listen to the recorded call.
You are extracting
let's listen to it.
Way
Can we go get
too
it?
much.
Can we get the call?
I feel like the guy probably was hurt.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, I heard the hurt feelings. Like, I heard him. He went down. He turned his tone
at first, and then
hey, David, I was just wondering about this, and David goes off, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay, all right, okay,
yeah,
right." So I could hear the hurt feelings on the dude, right? Like, I'm an emotional guy. People hurt my feelings sometimes. I can hear it.
I understand that. I think you think that if you had said something, you would have hurt the guy's feelings. If you had said it the way I did, or if I had talked to you that way, you would have had your feelings hurt. And so I think you're just mixing all that together. We're cool,
bro. I'm telling you.
I know the guy.
You say way worse.
I know the guy.
You say way worse things to me all the time, and you don't hurt my feelings. I'm just saying,
I don't say them like serious.
I mean, just most half of them. Most of the time. But,
well, now you call them in a couple of days and you just be like, hey, did the oil drip go away?
Yeah,
you can patch it up very easy.
Did. Oh, okay. I got a lady that does that. I didn't call. Well, I don't call people. No, I get out of here. You insane? Are you nuts? I'm not calling people. Ugh. I can feel that just in the pit of my stomach. I got to make that phone call. Are you kidding me? Man. We have this Mexican restaurant. Mm-hmm. My kids absolutely love. It's awful food, but whatever. My kids absolutely love it. My wife likes it too. They have this thing on the menu. It's like tequila lime chicken. It's what my wife likes. Every time we go there, she gets the tequila. Yeah. Well, it's not on the menu anymore. So if you have to order it online because we want to bring it home or whatever, you have to call and ask for the tequila lime chicken. So if I'm put in charge of ordering the food for that night, guess what? She ain't getting tequila lime chicken because it's not on the menu online. And she's like, what'd I get? You got a flippin' chimichanga. You didn't call, did you? I'm not calling. Are you insane? Like, this is what the online ordering is for. I want to click a button. it ain't a button. I'm not ordering it.
I don't know. I mean, I'll call customers a month later after they had coolant leaks and maybe they came twice, right? A visit and then another visit a week later.
David,
I'll think about that at night and I'll call them.
I think about it, but then I have employees that
David's got a point though, because it does become taxing. It becomes emotionally heavy, especially when something goes wrong, and when you have that personal relationship with somebody. That can become taxing over time.
Yeah.
Right. And it can lead to burnout in shop ownership. Right. It can lead to a position where, hey, this is hard to handle. And then, my thing is I've lost clients.
I see a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of old guys that are about 15 years older than me, 10 years older than me, owning their own shops. You see they're getting drained.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. It's like, then you start losing clients. And I'm not talking about you lose clients because they went somewhere else. I'm talking about they passed away. And you see that and you have an emotional connection to these people. And so that over time weighs on you. And Jade, who is the service advisor, worked in the medical field. We were talking about this at lunch. And she worked in the medical field and she worked in the vet's office, right? And she was kind of the front counter person. And she dealt with people who had lost a loved one. She dealt with people who had lost a pet. She had dealt with people who found out some really bad news sometimes. And she handles things differently than I do. And sometimes it's a little brash for me to handle, right? Like maybe just a touch more compassion, maybe just a touch more like showing them that you care and you're listening. In the same respect, like we've talked about it, and she says, listen, you need to understand that like when I was working in the vet's office, these people lost their best friend, their puppy, their whatever. And she said, if you took every single one of those cases and you felt it personally, it would take you out.
Yeah.
You couldn't do the job. You wouldn't be able, if you had a family member come in and they lost somebody, that's hard to handle. That's not easy to have that conversation. If you internalize each one of those things, I'm bad to internalize what's happening in the shop.
Yeah.
Like it's my personal, every mistake that's made is my personal mistake. And that over time will absolutely kill you. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That will kill you sooner or later. I guess you're going to live longer than all of us.
You're going to die from a heart attack? Is that what the problem is?
Probably.
Well, that's how most of us go out, right? But I'd like to see him do a study on that.
Yeah.
Shop owners and heart attacks.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Like they work themselves to death. And then the issue then the issue then becomes, can you your business financially support, because you're talking about charging properly. It's like, okay, well, I'm with you there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you brought in a QC person, somebody just to clean the car, make sure, wipe it down, make sure the car gets pulled up front, parked the right way, double check it for drips, whatever. Yep. So you're going to hire that person. You need somebody to sell the work because you can't keep doing it for forever. And you need somebody maybe to assist that person, answer the phones, set the appointments, whatever. So you have 2 front office people plus a QC person. So you're going to have 3 staff.
Well, and then we need a head diagnostician if I'm not there.
Okay. Now we need a head diagnostician. Now we have 4. And that head diagnostician ain't going to come cheap. No. So we're adding what? Maybe $250,000 a year.
That's why I kept the job, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying is like a lot of our conversations while we've been here, and I didn't think it would go this way, because every single time we go to some of these events, like we have no idea what kind of conversation we're going to have. A lot of the conversation we've had this weekend has been about how do we move away from the, what'd you call it? Churn and burn?
Turn and burn.
Turn and burn?
Mm-hmm. You can call it turn and burn, either one.
It's pumping the cars through the shop. That model. That's been the model that everybody has used to successfully scale their business, turn one shop into 4, turn $1 million, $1.5 million shop into $6 to $10 million.
I used to have those dreams. I absolutely don't want that anymore.
Okay, so you and I, we're there.
Yeah,
okay?
I don't want it anymore
because I see what happens.
I want quality, happiness. Fishing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We want normal lives for people, right? I don't want to build my wealth on the back of having one guy making $35 an hour and a whole bunch of guys making $15 an hour,
right,
and having the right mix and $19 oil changes and devaluing what we do in the consumer's eyes in order to get enough cars to pump them through the shop. I don't want any of that nonsense. All of it's got to go. And I think in my mind, it's going to be forced upon us because of the technology. Hybrid vehicles, everything's going to be hybrid. Everything's going to be battery powered. We're going to have freaking, what is it, hydrogen?
Hydrogen.
Yeah. We don't know what direction it's going to go. Everybody kind of has their own way they want to go.
I'll put my vote in with the hydrogen.
Hydrogen, yeah.
Yeah. BMW's got that, I think.
Yeah.
So does, I guess, Toyota. Toyota said that
Honda does too.
We're not going to get rid of ICE. We're just going to make them hydrogen powered, and that's how we're going to go. Very cool technology. Whatever.
Nice.
Okay, the technology is going to force us to get rid of that model, in my estimation. I think the churn and burn, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That model is going to go away because just from the very fact that we're not going to have oil changes at the volume that we have them available now, we're not going to see that. That battery powered electric vehicle is not going to have an oil change, so that's out the window. And tires. Like, I'm sure tires aren't a huge portion of your business.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, there you go. Because we do that to the discount tires and the Costcos of the world and the Big O's and the Goodyears, and like, let them do the tires, right?
Yeah.
That's what their model's built around. So we're going to be fighting over the suspension work, whatever, right? But a lot of it is going to be diagnostic work. A lot of it's going to be like maintenance to the hybrid system, maintenance to the systems, like the braking system. It's going to be maintenance on that, not necessarily a brake job or whatever. So that churn and burn model is going to go away. So a lot of the conversations we've been having here have been around, how do we make the financials work? Because the hours still have to be billed. The jobs still have to go out the door. The jobs still have to go out the door. Like, we still need to generate revenue some way to pay for the technicians in a sustainable fashion, and the shop owner still has to be able to make enough money. And so you get Cecil to sit down and tell you, he'd look at what you're doing. You're doing the job of 4 people. So the way the financial should look on your P&L is you have your 15 net, 15 to 25. Maybe they'll tell you 25, but 15 net.
Yeah.
Your 15 net plus your salary over and above the 15 net should be QC guy, shop manager, and I guess you have an assistant now, but shop manager, maybe 3 guys, QC guy, shop manager, and diagnostician. So $150,000 a year, whatever in your area, right? Plus the 15 on the bottom. Both should be there, getting pulled out of the business. If it's not, the model's wrong. We're not charging enough, or we're not turning enough hours, or both. And I think that is sobering for some of us.
Yeah.
It can be mitigated. Now, how do the churn and burn guys do? The churn and burn guys tie production to the salaries through flat rate, right? And then all they have to do is pump enough work through the shop. That's it.
Right. And their lower flat rate guys handle the majority of the work. Their one diagnostician handles all the diag work.
And it's not even like a hardcore GP per hour either. It's the guy's he can handle check engine lights and sense 3-wire sensors, but he's not doing like hardcore.
Well, so I've long thought that it's likely the issue is that, you know, we've talked about not charging enough, and coaches always say raise your rates, right? That whole big thing went around for so long. I don't think we're charging enough hours for the work that we do. I think that we have to think about charging more time for the work that we do, and then we have to charge more per hour.
Do we double up? I was talking to Bill Adams on the way home or on the way back to his hotel, and he was telling me like certain years, he gets to a certain year, he doubles.
Yeah.
If it's from this year to this year, it's like, 30% mark. Like, I think I'm at a 30% multiplier.
Yeah, I was always taught if a vehicle is 10, 12 years old or older by the first guy that got me into European repair, he would mark up the hours a minimum of 20%, if not more. Because
so we're at 30.
Yeah.
So it's a 1.3 multiplier, but across the board, this guy's doing double on a 10-year-old vehicle. That made you nervous. I could tell. Yeah, 10-year-old vehicle.
It's hard to think because nervous. Now you're thinking of 2013. I mean, that's
right, but that doesn't feel old to us because we've been working on them since 2013.
You ever seen the meme that like what I think of a 10-year-old car, and they see the 1992 Camry, but it's actually a 2013 Altima. It's like, that's a new car. No, that's a 10-year-old car.
No, right? Well, I work on them like they're new, right? And so that's a valid point. That's a. Do you have a business coach? Do you use a business coach?
No. No, I'll be talking to you about what you were just talking about off air.
Oh, the Cecil.
No, what we were talking about. So I don't have any business management. Yeah. I have nothing professional. I've never had a business coach. I've been very fortunate to where all I really cared about was giving people what they paid for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of carried me all the way through now, which is how I came across your page. And it was interesting to me because after all these years and all this gray hair, I'm now starting to think and pay attention, to that stuff, where before it was just, hey, man, hard work and I'll survive. Well, now it's bigger than that.
I know so many people that took that approach, right? And it never bothered me. I got to a spot when I was, because I was cleaning the toilets. I was writing the service. I was doing the work. Huh?
I say that to you like once a week.
I know, right? Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is like I was stressed to the max. And I wasn't making money. Like I was doing work. I wasn't making anything. I wasn't actually and the money that I did have, even if I could pay the bills, like it didn't feel like. And my explanation to her was I want to go become the best tech I can be because I think I can earn more money that's like mine. Sure. And I'm not like when you're a business owner, you don't get paid for that 3 a.m. wake up where you're laying there stressed out about whatever's happening. Yeah. Right. That's just, am I going to have enough money to pay the bills? Am I going to be able to take care of my people? What about that one car that made that noise after we started?
I hate that.
And so I went to her and I said, look, I don't think I want to do this anymore. This is too much. Yeah. And so I went to AST, I walked in and I ended up going from technical classes to management classes, whole long story. And I realized that I didn't know how to run a business, right? I didn't know how to run a business. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I knew how to work on cars, but I did not know how to run a business. And more I'm realizing all of these people that have put their life's work into working on cars, but they don't have anything. Right? I talk about there's 4 or 5 shops that I know personally, like friends of mine that I talk to, and they're like, hey, I'm going to sell the shop. Okay. What's it worth? Well, the valuation report came back and it's not worth anything. It's worth the property. Okay. Well, why? Well, Lucas, I thought the tools would be worth something. The tools aren't worth anything.
No.
I thought the customer base would be worth something. The customer base is not worth anything. I thought the telephone number would be worth something. The telephone number is not worth anything. And by the way, I wasn't making the money I thought it was. Or I was taking some of that money and paying bills with it, so I never showed a net profit. Yeah. And they don't care what I paid with it. The fact is I don't show a net profit, so the business is not worth anything. Mm-hmm. Right? And the natural progression of an auto repair shop from everything I can tell is as a guy gets older, right? If he's in mine and your shoes, as he gets older, what happens is the numbers start to decline because he gets tired. And he's done all the work himself for all those years. And so the work starts to decline because he wanted to take that Wednesday off and go fishing. He wanted to take a deep breath. And so as it declines, all of a sudden, everything he had starts pouring back into the business to make the ends meet for the business, right? And so he never thought I need to put away 10% because automatically, the business is making money. It'll just keep making money, right? We fool ourselves into believing the business is going to keep doing what the business is going to do for years and years and years. But the reality is at some point, it's going to pop up. You're going to have a heart attack. Something's going to happen. You're going to get sick. You're going to break your leg. You're going to break your hand. Something's going to happen. And I say the same thing to Tex. Eric that works for me, right? I don't know if you've noticed this. He's always doing this. When he hurt his elbow, he hurt some nerves in his arm, and now his hand swells. And so he can't close his right hand very well around sockets. And now, so guess what? That means he's got limited time left before that problem becomes so severe, he can't do his job anymore. Where's your retirement? Well, I don't have any. What's the solution? And I think the thing is that we've subsidized auto repair for consumers for so long, it feels normal to us to not charge this. But the rest of the trades and other professions are saying, hey, I hate to tell you, you're talking about that plumber, and that's in California, right? I hate to use that as an example, but my
I hate the whole plumber thing.
My attorney's $275 an hour.
But that guy spent $200,000 to go through school.
Understand that. But I'm saying,
whoa, I've got more than that in hand tools.
Yeah. But my point is my electrician charges $200 and some dollars an hour.
A lot of hand tools. Maybe in scanners too.
No.
And
the plumber that came and worked for me in my shop was $200 an hour, right? Like they've all realized, and they don't have any of this. These are small operations, much like us. And if you want to know the truth of it, I don't think that we should be comparing ourselves to plumbers and electricians and carpenters and HVAC guys. And the main reason is because they've not done a good damn job of it either.
No, I don't mean to sound snooty about it, but I really think we should be compared to doctors and lawyers, and not to just throw yourself up there. But when you're at events like this and you're constantly training, we're not just going to school, getting out, and then ta-da. Yeah. It's constant training. It's a constant investment.
Yeah.
We have to maintain our hospital beds, right?
Right.
There's a lot going on for us to be at a high level.
And the problem is that the majority of our consumers, so let's think about this for a minute. The majority of our consumers are middle income earners, right? Because your top end income earners, their car's out of warranty. If they have problems with it, they might work on it a few times. Mm-hmm. What are they going to do? They're going to go buy another car, right? What your low and middle income, they can't do that. I have to own this car until it's paid for, or I have to make smart financial decisions. Well, they're not earning as much as they've earned in the past. I don't want to say that, because I think they are. I think they're earning more, but if we go up to where we need to go, we're going to squeeze them.
Mm-hmm. And that was my point with the breaking down, like the structure you had within your shop, with as much as you are personally doing to replace yourself, because that's what you're supposed to pay as an owner. You're supposed to pay replacement cost. What's it going to cost to replace me within the business? Plus 15 on the bottom. Plus 15 on the bottom. Okay, add that up, and then divide that by the amount of hours that your guys are billing. Right? So 130 hours a week or so. And then your parts to labor mix. So you're probably higher on labor than you are on parts, right? If you look at how much you part. Mm-hmm. Okay. So your parts to labor mix. And then you see, like, per hour that you're open, how much you're generating in revenue. And it's probably too low.
Yeah. I would say it definitely is.
Okay, so whatever the number happens to be, let's say it's $100 too low or $150 too low. That means that you need to start generating $150 more per hour that you're open. Okay, how's that going to break down on what's that going to look like on the ticket? That's going to mean a 15%, and I'm just throwing numbers out. I have no idea. I'd have to do the math, but 15% more on parts across the board. And my labor rate's got to be $40 more an hour for the numbers to work. Okay. You didn't consider yourself cheap when you walked into this room this morning, right? Just now. As a cheap shop.
I was getting ready to say, poor Ryan's like, come in here and he's like, oh, we're going to talk about bettering the industry. And now I'm like, fuck, man, this is bad news.
No, this is what I expected.
Oh, we're good. Good. I'm glad. But you didn't consider yourself I'm one of the cheapest shops in town, right? Exactly. No. Exactly. So now you sit down, you look at the numbers, because I'm facing the same thing, dude. I'm facing the same thing. I'm looking at my numbers going, if I can, to make this work, I got to attack this much in parts and this much on my labor rate for the numbers to hash, and I've got to still maintain this level of production for my numbers to all work out, and for it to be a viable P&L, to make it a sellable asset. Not that I would want to sell it, but at least be able to say I own a business, not a job, that isn't dependent on me necessarily, and I've got replacement value built in. Right. In case tomorrow I can't do the diag anymore, I can hire a diagnostician because that's already been paid for and on the P&L. Even if I just sloughed it away into a bank account as retained earnings, That money's built into my pricing structure. Not all of a sudden, hey, crap, I just had to hire $150,000 a year Diag Tech for Euro only, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. How am I going to pay for it? Well, I'm just going to jack up all my prices. Well, that's already built into it. I'm looking at these numbers going, crap. I'm going to price myself out of the market. That's what I'm paranoid about.
Yeah,
you probably have less.
No, because I feel the same way. I have to stay where I'm at. I feel afraid to price myself out of the market.
The only pushback I would give you is that you're working on higher end cars.
I know.
I'm working on beat to shit Civics. I've got a 99 or 2000 Honda Civic.
That still feels like a new car to me.
No. Once the minute that you go so far back that you have the double wishbone front suspension on the Honda Civic, they're all McPherson struts now. But back in the day when Honda was cool, they used to make double wishbone front suspensions, fully independent rear suspensions, and you could do all sorts of crazy stuff with the suspension. It was good handling front wheel drive car for a front wheel drive car. It was good. It was good. Anyway, this car comes in, and this guy, he hit something or whatever. He sheared the back, the lower control arm. It's got a lower control arm. It's got a trailing arm. It's got a compensating arm on the rear suspension, and he sheared the bolt, and he like messed up the trailing arm. And the car was just sitting on the ground, and they towed it to my shop. And so I've got this 2000 Honda, and that's my cutoff year is 2000, by the way. I don't work on 99s or older, or some 99s, but like I stay away from 97s. Like I just don't want to work on them. They're too rusted or whatever. This thing was rust. Like everything was rust. Every bolt had to be melted out. Everything. And the trailing arms just not available. I had to get one used out of a junkyard, disassemble it, replace all the rubber bushings. Anyway, it's sitting in my shop. So I'm working on that. If I go to this kid and I go, hey, turns out I'm not charging enough. I got to tack $350 onto this $1,000 ticket. It's now $1,350 because otherwise my numbers don't work. That guy's going to go like, look at me cross-eyed. Like, dude, you're already charging me $1,000. It's a 2000 Honda Civic. Like,
right. And,
I only got so much wiggle room.
And when
where you're working on a 17 BMW 5 Series, it's like, hey, that was a $100,000 car. It's another $350, and the guy's going to go, all right.
I think the biggest concern that I have is knowing what the shops around me charge, right? And I've always said we shouldn't compare ourselves to the dealer. We should be more than the dealer should be. But
can't do that.
But the other shops around me, I mean, dude, I've got people charging $40 and $50 an hour. And so you can quickly get an image, right? You can quickly get.
Where are you from?
North Carolina.
Oh man,
he's in the mountains, though.
Right, you can quickly get an image of people looking at you, and let's think about how they make it work. Well, they might own the property. The property might be paid off, and they're paying their guys. They're not skilled technicians. They're paying them very, very low wages, and all of the things that go into
at all.
that. Exactly.
Like that one dude.
Yeah.
He wasn't even paying those people.
Right. Well, and so they run really low labor rates, and they stuff their pocket with what they can get. And so it doesn't compare to the service and the product that we offer. But at some point, right, like, because a consumer, think about all these news reports you see. They go to the news and they say, hey, this guy tried to rip me off. And the news goes to 3 other places. And those 3 other places say, yeah, they said they'd do that for $80. We talk about it all the time. They didn't see the car. How can they make an estimate for that? They have no clue what that's going to be. And then all of a sudden they're saying, well, why are you charging $1,200? Well, because it was rusty, and because it did need this, and because it did need that. But it doesn't matter. At that point, you've got the name of, hey, we did this.
Yeah.
Right? I will push back to you and say you have a Taj Mahal building. Mm-hmm. And you don't roll up to his building and think,
yeah,
I'm going to pay $40 an hour here. You don't.
Right.
Okay. So I don't have a Taj Mahal building. I'm working on 2000 Honda Civics. What the hell do I do?
I don't want
You got to stop working on those cars. So, all right. I mean, that's the facts. And so when I was younger and I got in at the BMW Mercedes, the guy's name was Steve Ash. Mm-hmm. And I told you I like old muscle cars then. I'm a young kid, right? Yeah. Okay. And he pointed down to the transmission shop.
Yeah.
And he said, look at that. I said, I'm looking. I mean, that place had cars everywhere.
Yeah.
Cars everywhere. so much transmission fluid on the concrete floor, it was coming up after you mopped it.
Yeah.
And I said, that guy's making money. And that guy took me and he said, he is making no money.
Yeah.
He goes, how do you expect to make a living and live? And everybody's different.
Yeah.
He says, you need to close your eyes and think of what you want with your life.
Yeah.
And whatever it's going to take to get that, you need to work for people that can afford to pay you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're struggling, and we go look back at the transmission shop, he says, I know that person can't pay a $300 bill on that car. How are you supposed to pay a mortgage and send a kid to college?
Yeah. And instead we waste our time working on that, right? A lot of shops spend tons of time dealing with that and working on that car instead of qualifying the client, making sure the right client's coming in the shop. And they're more stressful to work for. Mm-hmm. It's overwhelming because you feel bad for them. You want what's best for them, but if they don't have the money to pay, and all of a sudden you're subsidizing the repair for their car.
I just feel like there's a razor's edge line you have to walk. For me, like specialty shops, I say this all the time. Like if you're like, you did it right. You bought an existing business, because we talk about this all the time on the podcast. Like, do not open your own flipping shop. Don't be stupid.
And so, like you were talking about,
buy a business.
I bought 10 times of what the profit was. That's what I bought. So the property was only worth this.
Yeah.
So when we went through the P&L sheets, I mean, that's how, like you said, that's how you're going to have a viable business to sell. You've got to have it all right. And then, like you were saying, taking the money away for a diagnosis. I mean, I've never thought about that. It's a genius idea.
Because, you're going to have to do something. But the what was I saying? Got me distracted. See?
2000 Honda Civic, rusted.
Yeah.
Curb smashed.
I think where this ends, and I don't, man.
I will still work on that stuff, though, by the way, just to be a nice guy to people so they don't get screwed. Like, if I know another shop's not going to do it right.
There's a razor's edge. Yeah.
I'll tell them, but you can't call me, though. You can't ask me when it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Just leave it, and I promise I'm going to take care of you.
So we have some of those cars, too.
Absolutely.
And there's a razor's edge that you have to walk, because in order to break that 7-figure mark, the customer pool, and not struggle necessarily. The customer pool has to be about 2,000 names. That's the magic number.
Yep.
I've got this broken down to the T. It's 2,000 names. That's a 7-figure mark. 1,000 names, you'll hit somewhere between $500,000 and $650,000 in yearly sales. When you get to that 2,000, you can break 7 figures very easily. But it's not just any 2,000 names. It's got to be the right 2,000 names. And so it is a struggle and a fight, especially in my area. Like, I'm surrounded by shops.
Where you at again?
I'm in Kansas City. I am surrounded.
There's probably 30 shops within a mile of your shop.
Within a mile radius. That's probably right. We're close to 30. It's bad. Again, don't go open a shop. Like, buy a business that's been there for a minute and you've got a name and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, you want 2,000 names. Okay, so I'm starting from ground zero. I've got 0 names on my customer list. I need to start acquiring customers as quickly as possible and try to get to that 2,000 name as fast as possible. Now that I've gotten past that 2,000, it's like, well, now I got to start knocking names off. That bottom 50% of customers that are not producing any profit for me, or just a pain in the ass to deal with, I need to get them off of my list, but I need to replace them with another 1,000. Like, so now it's like, it's just churning that customer list. It is going to take forever, because if you don't have the right names, you're absolutely right. It's not, you have to have the right people coming to pay you, because otherwise, it's going to be, they might pay you the $2,000 to do that repair, but man, it is an agonizing $2,000 and not worth the $2,000 you're going to earn off of it, or the 60% margin you're going to make on that. It's not worth the money. This person is a massive pain in the ass. I don't want to do this again for that person. So you knock them off the list, but now you got to replace them with another person. And so it's really difficult it's easy to say, sitting down here on a podcast, like, oh, just jack up your price, and like you got to just make sure you qualify the customer. And there's like, oh, that's fine. But when you break it down into baby steps, and what am I going to do tomorrow or Monday morning to start making that change? What's the first step I'm going to do? And yeah, it might be that, hey, I got to go into the system and I've got to immediately jack up my GP optimizer and Shop-Ware.
Yeah.
And I've got to tack another $35 onto my, and I told you, like, before we started this, like, I'm going to really crunch my numbers down.
Yeah.
Because this is depressing as AF for me to realize that the numbers, even if I don't have that person hired, I've got to be able to pay for them. I've got to have that in retained earnings. My guys have to hit a certain productivity number for the numbers to work. I want them to take the time to do it right. I want them to slow up and do the diag and let's do the EPROM work. And I want all of that for my shop because I see that as the future. It's got to be that, because the churn and burn model is not sustainable in my estimation, and I think it's evil, but whatever. It's devalued our industry. It's ruined technician after technician after technician.
100%.
It has created the technician shortage that we have. Everything we've done up to this point has put us into the situation that we're in now, where people think 1999 oil changes are a real thing, that they're not getting garbage oil or unskilled labor doing it and cheap oil filters or whatever. They think in their mind, it's the same as the $90 oil change that guy was going to charge me down the street. It's not the same. But they think it is. So we've gotten to that point. Like, so I need to figure things out. I don't know what to do.
Kind of to combat that. So I do these little articles in local magazines.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody else does them. It's a 2-page thing. And if you own a shutter business, you know, imagine this ad, it's 15% off and you know, it's an advertisement. It's a, you know, little billboard in your hand. Well, I've used it to do how would you say? Basically educating consumers.
Yeah.
So it's not like a call me for $20 off of whatever.
Yeah, of course.
They've never done that. I'll educate them about do's and don'ts, what people are doing, and I'll come out with the, you know, so here's the thing. And I really want to crunch my numbers more listening to you. But if I can take $25 off that coolant flush, for just as an example, I'm charging you too much. And if I'm not charging you too much, I have an ulterior motive, right? You get where I'm going? So if I can take $25 off that coolant flush.
So if the consumer thinks you can take 25 off,
if
they feel like
it's one of two things, I believe. If you're doing that, it's one of two things, and maybe I'm judging people for whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if you put an ad out and it's $25 off on that coolant flush, you have been overcharging constantly for the coolant flush, or your goal is to get me in and upsell me.
Oh,
right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. So
that's 100% true.
Yes.
100% true.
And I think the consumers need to realize what they're getting in quality shops when it comes to the fluids and materials. And I mean, we just can't dump oil. You could dump oil in a car, and just see how it goes.
I got a complaint.
I follow the rules.
I got a complaint the other day because this dude had a brand new Toyota pickup, brand new, and I wouldn't put 1030 in it. And he was so upset. I'm like, dude, this is a 020 truck. I am not putting 1030 in it. You can take it and do whatever you want.
Especially if you have climate. When you're down where I'm at, you can put 50 weight in it. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you have climate,
Well, so I very much felt the same way for the longest time. And I still feel the same way. Don't get me wrong. However, when I went from 3 bays to 10 bays, and all of a sudden I have to fill 10 bays instead of 3 bays, that's a whole different proposition.
It makes you nervous.
Yeah.
Right. Because now, like, you've got to grow your client base. Now you've got to get more people in there, and you've got to make sure the marketing you've got is effective. It's a much more detrimental thing when you have a slow week and you've got a big facility. And so I can see why a lot of people
I got a second space. and bought
Dude,
equipment.
Listen, honey.
Whatever you were about to tell me, I told you about the stupid building also, just so you know. We're like, why not just stay where you're at? Like, you're killing it right now. Yeah, but I'm gonna have a podcast room and Cat 6 10 gigabyte internet in every connection.
I think I'm farther away from standing on the corner in a mini skirt than you are.
That is true. You are. I'm gonna shake that ass.
He's hoping people will pay him to go back in.
That's the idea.
But all right. Your luck's kind of like mine. Somebody's not going to pay you.
Yeah, you're like, I'll take it. Whoa. That's not what I signed up for. Thank you for listening to the Changing the Industry podcast. If you enjoyed the show, do us a favor and leave us a review on your favorite podcast player. And don't forget to set it to automatically download the latest episode. Our efforts with this podcast, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group wouldn't be possible without the support of our awesome sponsors. So please take a moment, check them out by clicking on the links in the show notes.